The Persian Gulf, April 1988. Tension hung in the air, salt, heat, and the ever-present threat of war. For months the U.S. Navy patrolled these waters, tasked with protecting shipping from the chaos of the Iran-Iraq war. But safety was an illusion. Every radar blip, every shadow, could mean disaster. On one side, the U.S. Navy, a floating armada of steel and technology. On the other, Iran, battered by war but fiercely determined to defend its turf. Iranian leaders believed their unconventional tactics and local knowledge could challenge the American fleet. Both sides were on edge. For Americans, it was duty. For Iranians, survival and faith. Young conscripts faced off against seasoned sailors, each convinced of their cause. The world watched as the Gulf became a chessboard. One wrong move could ignite a firestorm. Oil, pride, and national security were all at stake. No one knew when the tension would snap, but everyone sensed it was coming. Soon, the illusion of control would shatter in the thunder of modern naval warfare. The Iran-Iraq war's stalemate spilled into the sea, turning the Persian Gulf into a war zone. Oil tankers and merchant ships became targets. Missiles, mines, and gunfire threatened the world's oil supply. The tanker war had begun, and global markets trembled. In response, the U.S. launched Operation Earnest Will, escorting reflagged Kuwaiti tankers under American protection. U.S. warships now sailed in harm's way, a clear warning to Iran. Iran saw this as direct interference, and tension soared. The USS Stark incident, hit by Iraqi missiles, proved just how dangerous the Gulf had become. Soon after, the U.S. caught Iran laying mines, confirming the threat. The Gulf was a powder keg, with American ships on constant alert and Iran doubling down on asymmetric tactics. Fast attack boats and mines harassed shipping, while U.S. convoys pressed on. Each day, the risk of a direct clash grew. The world waited for the moment when Iran would cross a line the U.S. could not ignore. The question was no longer if, but when. The stage was set for confrontation. The stakes, global oil, national pride, and the credibility of a superpower. The Gulf's calm surface hit a storm ready to break. One act of aggression would be all it took. The countdown to conflict had begun. The world held its breath. April 14, 1988. The USS Samuel B. Roberts patrolled the Gulf, unaware of the danger lurking below. Suddenly, a massive explosion. The ship was rocked, its hull torn open by a mine. Chaos erupted, power failed, water flooded in, and fires raged. But the crew's training kicked in. They fought flooding and flames for hours, refusing to abandon ship. Against all odds, they saved the Roberts. Not a single life was lost. As the ship limped to safety, Navy divers searched the blast site. They found more mines, fresh, with serial numbers matching those from an Iranian mine layer caught the year before. The evidence was clear. Iran had targeted an American warship. This was no accident. It was a deliberate act of aggression. For the Reagan administration, the line had been crossed. Retaliation was inevitable. The U.S. prepared a powerful, targeted response. The operation had a name: Praying Mantis. The spark had been lit. The Gulf was about to erupt. The world braced for what would come next. The countdown to battle had ended. 4 days after the Roberts was mined, Operation Praying Mantis began. At dawn, U.S. Navy groups moved in. This was the largest American surface naval battle since World War II. The mission: punish Iran but avoid all-out war. The targets: 2 Iranian oil platforms, Sasan and Siri, used as military command centers. U.S. ships warned the Iranians to evacuate. Some fled, others fired back. The American response was overwhelming. Naval gunfire, boarding parties, demolition charges. Both platforms were left in flames. Iran struck back, sending speedboats and warships to challenge the U.S. fleet. American carrier jets pounced, sinking and damaging Iranian boats. The Iranian frigate Sahan fired missiles at U.S. planes. Within hours, it was sunk by Harpoon missiles and bombs. The Sabalan, another Iranian frigate, fired at an A-6 jet. The U.S. struck back, crippling it with a single bomb. U.S. commanders chose not to finish off the Sabalan, a calculated move to avoid further escalation. By nightfall, Iran's naval presence in the southern Gulf was shattered. The message was clear: the U.S. would not tolerate attacks on its forces. the world saw the cost of challenging American power. The Gulf's balance had shifted. Iran's losses were devastating. The US had reasserted control. The battle was over, but the consequences would echo for years. The rules of engagement in the Gulf had changed. The world took notice. Behind the headlines, real people paid the price. On the Samuel B. Roberts, sailors faced fire, darkness, and rising water, yet risked their lives for each other. Chief Engineman Mike Tilley, injured, dove repeatedly to save trapped shipmates. Young sailors fought flames for hours, refusing to abandon their ship. Their courage turned disaster into survival. On the Iranian side, young conscripts faced overwhelming force. The Sahan's crew watched their ship become a blazing wreck. Speedboat crews were caught in deadly airstrikes. These were sons, brothers, fathers, caught in a conflict far bigger than themselves. The cost of war was measured in lives changed and lost. Technology may dominate, but the human toll is always real. April 18, 1988, was a clash of doctrines. Iran's asymmetric tactics versus America's technological might. Iran hoped mines and speedboats could offset US power, but Operation Praying Mantis exposed the limits of that strategy. The US Navy's coordination, ships, aircraft, command centers, created a seamless, overwhelming force. Iranian units, isolated and outgunned, were picked off one by one. The entire battle unfolded in a single day. Ships sunk, platforms destroyed, Iran's navy crippled. For the US Constitutions, it was proof that technology and training could dominate the modern battlefield. For Iran, it was a harsh lesson in vulnerability. Asymmetric tactics had failed against a unified, high-tech adversary. The reality in modern war, coordination and speed are decisive. After Praying Mantis, the Gulf fell silent. Iran's navy, battered and humbled, withdrew from direct confrontation. The US had re-established deterrence. Its resolve was clear. Iran shifted strategy, investing in missiles, fast boats, and mines, avoiding head-on battles. The US Navy, meanwhile, doubled down on coordination and mine countermeasures. The lessons of that day shaped future doctrine on both sides. Operation Praying Mantis became a case study in modern naval warfare. The Gulf's balance of power was reset. America's role as security guarantor was cemented. The strategic standoff born in 1988 still shapes the region today. The events of April 1988 are a warning about miscalculation. Iran underestimated the US response, crossing a line that demanded retaliation. A single mine led to a full-scale naval battle. Escalation was swift and unpredictable. US restraint, sparing the crippled Sabalan, prevented a wider war. The lessons remain urgent. The Gulf's tensions persist and small incidents can spiral out of control. The players and technology may change, but the risk of miscalculation endures. The story of the Samuel B. Roberts and Praying Mantis is a cautionary tale. In geopolitics, small actions can have massive consequences. Understanding this history is vital for today's leaders. In the Persian Gulf, restraint is strength, and miscalculation is a risk the world cannot afford.